On Small Cap Power in Toronto, we're pleased to be with Ian Telfer, Chairman of Goldcorp, at the Mines and Money Conference. Ian, thank you for joining us here.
My pleasure.
Now, your background was actually accounting.
Correct.
How did you get jump-started in the industry in the first place?
Good question, completely by accident. I was working with an accounting firm and someone called me up and asked me would I be interested in another job that's slightly different, and I said yes. And then sort of at the last minute I asked, and what industry is it? You know, and they said, oh, mining. I said, oh, great.
Got it.
But I knew nothing about mining. I'd never audited a mining company. I'd never been to a mine. I just fell into it.
Right. Now, what's your thought on the decline in industry gold reserves and the potential decrease in gold production over the next few years?
Well, it's certainly an issue for our industry. All the major companies are shrinking or treading water or shrinking. And so the amount of gold coming from mines is starting to decline, and over the next 10 years I think it's going to decline quite dramatically as mines run out of ore going forward. So that's a big challenge for us, because all of us here at this conference have been in this industry for a while. It's been a growing industry the whole time, and like everything in life, when it's growing, there's something for everybody. When it starts to shrink, it starts to get a little tougher.
Right, and this will affect the gold price in what ways?
I think it'll have a big impact on the gold price. Once the world, and it'll take the world a few years to realize that gold production is going down, jewelry sales will remain the same, investment demand for gold I think will remain the same or grow, depending on how the world goes. So I think this supply of gold from mines declining will have a big impact.
Right. Now you have 6 to 8 large-scale camps at this moment.
Right.
And let's talk about this year, the number of M&A transactions that you've gone through. Can you give us an overview?
Well, we did a little bit to consolidate an area in Chile with working with Barrick and Kinross and ourselves to put together. We're very excited about that. We also have another joint venture down there with Teck. So we're very excited about that one too. And then our latest acquisition up in the Yukon is Kaminak.
Right. Now let's talk about your focus on the community where you operate. You say that in the mining industry, it's very important for companies to be able to take care of the community. How important has that been for you personally in the long term?
Oh, extremely important, because most mines are found in remote locations, and so whatever community is there or whatever community grows up around there becomes very, very dependent upon the mine, and the mine in return has to help with education and healthcare and clean water and infrastructure, so it just becomes part of what you do. And so because of that, being in the mining industry for as long as I have been, and in so many places around the world, it just becomes part of your DNA. You've got to really work with that community to make them successful.
So Ian, I want to ask you, what does it mean for you to be an entrepreneur?
Well, an entrepreneur, I think, is someone who creates something out of nothing, has an idea, and it can be an invention, or it can be a computer, or it can be a way to combine a bunch of mining companies, but you start with a piece of paper, and out of that you create something. And so that's my view of what really defines an entrepreneur. Now,
when you started to build your company, what was the main factor that drove you to your success?
We started in 2001, and my view was that the price of gold was about to go up fast. So there was an opportunity to put together some small companies into something larger and take advantage of that price rise. And the reason we were so desperate was I thought the price was going to go up tomorrow, and we didn't have any gold. And so we worked as quickly as we could to buy everything that anybody would sell us that had any gold in it, because we were so confident in the rise of the price.
Gotcha. Now lastly, let's talk about some major mistakes by mining companies. I know that the two main things that you've said is debt and overvaluing one's own assets. Can you expand on that?
Well, debt in anyone's life is dangerous, but in mining it's really dangerous, because when the commodity price goes down, if you have too much debt, you are so exposed. And it's been the biggest single reason that mining companies have gotten themselves in serious trouble. There's room for debt, or there's a place for debt, but small companies should be very careful about overborrowing. The other issue was the
overvaluing your assets.
Overvaluing your assets. Well, when companies are looking at merging or getting together, they're always very critical of the company they're looking at and their assets and the value, but they're not as critical of their own. And so a lot of times they pass on making an acquisition because they think that theirs is so much more valuable than theirs.
Right.
The reality is, if you ran them both through the same screen, you'd probably find yours weren't worth quite as much as you thought. And so the big mistake that a lot of people make is they overvalue their own assets.
Right. Now, I know that in an article I read about you, you said that you had a run with technology in the late 1990s,
Yeah.
and you'll probably never go back to it.
Right.
Is there anything else that you're doing besides gold that we might be interested in?
I'm involved with an oil company in Mexico. You know, Pemex is privatizing many of their assets, and so there's an opportunity there to grow, I think, a significant energy company in Mexico.
Right.
So we've been working with that for the past 3 years as Mexico sorts out how they're going to go through this process, but it's working very well. We're very excited about it, and that's my other focus.